Yeah,
The
that's right.
referees beat
The
us.
referees, okay. The referees missed that field goal?
They missed the holding call probably, or the face mask. They did miss a face mask. They clearly showed on the video, the guy touched his shoulder and they called a face mask. Old Mac went off.
Carolina fans are deplorable.
Hey, guess what?
No excuse.
When you play in that high level competition, man, you're gonna lose that high level. Hey, but yeah,
I don't know who the other three are gonna be tonight.
yeah,
But William and Mary are going.
right.
It's been a tough matchup for us.
I was in court today in Superior Court up in Rockingham, and the judge was Dick Bedore's son, the former AD at Carolina.
Dick Bad athletic director?
Yeah.
I hear you.
Looks just like him too.
It's about 7.
Did you send Mr. Williams on the meeting?
I sent him back there to time out. I can go tell him he can come back now.
Let's make this quick. My back hurts for some reason. The only one I hadn't heard from is Tom.
Hey, I talked to that deputy today
Did you?
because I figured he's on a rotating shift. He'll come back on Friday. I'm gonna send him the pictures and name and stuff.
Okay, all right, good.
Go from there.
All right, good. Yeah, I called him and told him.
I told him about going next door first and talking to them, see if they got anything.
Okay,
Cause they had some too, and I bet you they can, if nothing else, she can identify them.
okay, good. That sounds good.
Call the meeting to order. It is November the 29th, 2022 at 7 PM. Town Hall special meeting. Mr. Jones, would you do the invocation? If not, I'll be glad to.
I will, Mr. Mayor. If y'all would, please bow your heads. Dear Lord, we thank you for this opportunity to come together to serve the citizens of Stokesdale, and we pray that you would provide us with the wisdom to make the decisions that we need to make in order to keep the town moving forward. To ask you to watch over each of our citizens and provide for their needs. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Do the review and adopt the agenda. I make a motion that the agenda be adopted.
I'll second the motion.
Any discussion? Jim?
Aye.
Derek?
Aye.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
And I am aye. We'll open the floor for citizens' discussion. Any comments? Discussion of our water system capital improvements. Mr. Foy, I think you have something.
Yeah, I
to bring
did
to
add
the
this.
table.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Well, since August, we've had a lot of good discussion about capital water system improvements. And in the last regularly scheduled town council meeting, we talked a whole lot about, excuse me, the Coldwater Highway 65 to Oak Level Church Loop as a means of bringing an additional water main into the town of Stokesdale. Also, a benefit of that is it obviously would serve somewhat of a, a historically underserved area of town on the town of Stokesdale in terms of municipal water, would add municipal water to that area. Naturally, we wouldn't require any citizen to hook up to water, but they would have the option if they so wanted. I do think that's a really good option. And I don't know Mr. Dalton who spoke the other night, but I'm going to give him a lot of credit for speaking. He's one of 3, I guess if we count Aaron he's a citizen too, but he's really one of 4 citizens in this town that I've talked to and gotten, good feedback about, what we should consider doing with the ARP money. And I appreciate Mr. Dalton's suggestion. He has suggested utilizing Happy Hill Road and potential Anthony Road. So the day after that meeting, I went and drove in my car down Hall River to Warner Road to Happy Hill. And really, it's about the same mileage as this Coldwater 65 loop we're talking about. In fact, I could even make the argument that it's less mileage when you take into account the water line that a developer will likely be running to service the Lakeside subdivision that, where the majority of those houses will be in Forsyth County. Council did vote in June of 2021 for that developer to get water from the Stokesdale Municipal Water System. A benefit that kind of really stood out to me is if the town were to do this Happy Hill Warner Road loop, is that from an assurance of water supply in the event of an outage, if you look at the entire system, and it's my opinion that this loop would be a better alternative than even Coldwater and 65. And the reason I say that, let's back up in time. First, the best way to look at this sheet that I've passed out here, this map, is just right here. At the very bottom of the map is our interconnection with Winston-Salem. And then going off to the left there in yellow is the Coldwater 65 loop. And going off to the right in pink would be the Happy Hill Warner Road loop. So the current system right there is in the middle of the page. That's Highway 158 coming up into the town core. And the discussions likely started before this, but discussions, you know, in the town about our vulnerability about having one inlet, one pipe, Highway 158, extending about 4 miles, supplying, you can see when you get past downtown Stokesdale and, you know, it goes down 68, up 68, over past the school in front of Culp. You know, it spiders off pretty well in between. But our vulnerability lies if there was an outage on that Highway 158 pipe. So if you just mark an X through there, it's like, sorry, so you have a line break there. Then the entire system is being serviced from the tank. So 200, 300,000 gallons in the tank. That will theoretically last us 24 to 48 hours. You know, in the event of a major outage on Highway 158, you know, we do have exposure. This Coldwater loop provided a parallel line, so to speak. It's not parallel physically to the 158 line there on 158, but it does run parallel at the interconnection into town. So if there was an outage on 158, we would still have water flowing down Coldwater Road and 65 into the town core. But if you look at this theoretical example, say, what if there was a water outage, a line break between Prince Edward and Stokesdale Elementary School? That was a significant break. So you just kind of mark an X right there. Well, you know, I'm sure we could, with the backup plan we have in place, we could get it fixed, you know, in a relatively short time. It could be 24 hours, you know, it could be 48 hours. I would like to think it wouldn't be much longer than that, but, you know, I don't know. But say we did have a water line break there or break in front of Jimmy's house. This proposed route of Coldwater to 65, that would not do us any good in that situation. We would still have the same problem we were kind of collectively hoping to solve by running that Coldwater to 65 loop had an outage occurred on Highway 158. But to make matters worse, say if a line broke in front of Jimmy's house, well, you're not going to have the water tank to supply you there because, in other words, those folks, T's neighborhood, Food Line, Natee's Lane, that new road over there in Arbor Run that's on the system now, Nugent, I believe it is, Jim's neighborhood, Dawn Acres, you know, they would be out of water until the pipe was fixed. And again, we have a good contractor and emergency plan in place, but we don't have the kind of assets like large water systems do have in place for emergency repair. That's just a fact. So, but if you had that Happy Hill to Warner Road to 68 loop, if that line does break in front of Jimmy's house, those customers, Food Line, Dawn Acres, Prince Edward Road and Northridge, they would have that parallel line coming there past Food Line and Warner Road and Happy Hill. Essentially, you're connecting, if you did this, you're connecting the very end of the system. If we're calling the very end of our system right now, Food Line, to the very beginning of the system, which right there at Happy Hill Road and 158 is essentially the very beginning of the system. And that's a full loop. I can't speak to if there's any quality improvements or anything in there, but just in 3 years in this role, I have overheard a lot. The more you loop your system, the better it is. So, I like this option. I like the fact this option was brought to us by a citizen that, we thought we talked about all the options that we had to us, but we didn't. We didn't talk about this one. So that was the point of I wanted to have this discussion with council tonight, about this another option that may be good for us there. So with that, I'd love to hear y'all's thoughts. I should acknowledge, in fact, if you turn the page here, I should acknowledge that some of these property owners, that if we did run a water line down Happy Hill and Warner Road, some of these property owners are in the Oak Ridge jurisdiction. If you flip to page 3, it gets pretty confusing there. I've got stars on all the the parcels that are in Stokesdale's jurisdiction, and then there's red X's if the property's in the Oak Ridge jurisdiction. So any complexities that go along with that, I don't know. I don't know the answers to those. Could questions like, can we legally run a water line in another jurisdiction without getting the jurisdiction's approval? I'm sure we'd have to get the property owner's approval via easement some way, somehow. But the fact that it's another jurisdiction adds a little complexity to this. Certainly with Coldwater to 65 to Oak Level Church Road, that's all of Stokesdale's jurisdiction. But again, I still like that option. But in my opinion, the best option to fully loop the system and to mitigate any risk of a water outage, just the way that I look at it, look at the map, I believe that Happy Hill to Warner is the better option from that perspective. So, just wanted to talk about it with you guys.
Is there any guesstimate of how many customers we would gain on either route?
That's a great question. I think if you're looking in the near to midterm, I would say you would count the number of customers. Let me rephrase this. In a year to about a 2-year, maybe even 3-year window, I believe the number of customers in either situation we would gain would be minimal. Now, down the road for potentially future development, I don't know where there's more land available. I think both of them would, there's a lot of big parcels on the Warner Road, specifically on the Warner Road. Happy Hill, maybe not as much, but Anthony Road, there's a lot of parcels on. And, if there's a line going down Warner Road and crossing Anthony, there's likely parcels of land that if they were to be developed, they would tie onto the water system there at Warner. But that's pure speculation.
The one thing that this loop does, and again, talking about a few years out of a what-if scenario, is this does go, the Warner Road does go through Arbor Run by some of those bigger developments that have historically had water issues, and they have, and I know we've talked about that as a council, and they haven't come to the table with an agreement to say we're willing to, get rid of our water system and partner or whatever, but, you know, it may would at least be a little bit of seed money for them to start that conversation, and that's a lot of houses on those lines. Because
Well-
eventually, if they run out, we're right there. It'd be a quick, easy option for them.
That's a good point, Jim. I think as far as us taking over that infrastructure, as you said it right there, and you're really hitting on a good point. I don't think Aqua is gonna give up those customers. Yes, they have had historical problems. They did put a second tank there on Tribbiano or maybe Anthony Road. And, you know, for the last 3 years, I haven't heard of many instances there. But I think what it would open up, maybe not for the individual property owners in Arbor Run or the adjacent neighborhoods to be the town's customers, but for Aqua to potentially be the town's customer. And Aqua buys a tap into the Stokesdale water system, and we sell Aqua water, and they can distribute it. Now, can you mix well water with free chlorine? I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't think it would hurt, but I don't know. That would kind of be up to Aqua.
As far as Harbor Run goes, we're close enough now. If they had a problem, they already tried to talk to the previous mayor about this, which never came to council, but and that was feasible for them. So I don't even know why that's.
It wasn't turned down by council. It was turned
No, I
down
know. I said it wasn't.
by individual
It
council
wasn't.
members.
It never got to council. We never, officially even knew about it. Officially.
And I don't
But we're,
think-
we're close enough to them right now if they have a problem, to do that. So I don't know that that's, they've got enough houses. One, if we sell water, I mean, if we do one tap for Aqua, I did the math on that. I've got it somewhere on my phone about these bigger water customers. They get one tap and then their water cost is way down.
The cost per
compared to the
gallon
regular
is
customer,
cheap.
because the regular customer has to pay $25. I don't think it, I just don't, I don't think, we expand our water system to give somebody one tap and get one $25 fee, and then everybody else in town's paying $25 taps.
Well, that infrastructure too in Arbor Run, or a lot of, maybe a lot of developments that Aqua does, I don't think I don't think it comes close to meeting the town's specifications. And,
I'm just saying that we're
Todd,
close enough
Todd,
to them.
I'll call you out. They don't have hydrants in Arbor Run, right, or Springdale at that. And is it because of the size of the pipe?
That would be my guess.
Yeah.
No one ever contacted us to talk about it, so
Okay.
I'm assuming they probably put just the size of
Mr.
pipe
Foley,
and the amount of customers.
this is not gonna get on the town's audio equipment. We need, if you're gonna have a question from the audience, we ought to ask them to come to the podium. I hate to interrupt.
Yeah. Todd and Aaron can sit up here. We might have a few questions for y'all.
Yeah, why don't y'all guys do that, so you don't have to get up and down, no.
Yeah, nobody's here
I'm
but
glad
y'all.
you're here tonight, Todd.
Todd's like, I didn't sign up for this.
But just to clarify,
Mayor, let them have your chair. It's
I'm talking about long-term,
No.
It's 10 feet.
catastrophic
Right.
situation.
But I think this would help in a short-term
Yeah.
catastrophic situation.
Right.
So back to your question, when those developments were put in, no one ever really talked to us about it. We just kind of figured that they were putting whatever size pipe, their engineers call for to feed the amount of homes in there. But no, there are no hydrants
Okay.
in any of those subdivisions.
Mr. Golden, would you identify yourself?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. Todd Golden, 8470 Hunting Court.
He ain't gotta do it every time he says something, does he?
No, but we
I know,
try to
go
keep
ahead.
our records squared away for any citizen that joins us online or goes back and reviews this at a later date. I, of course, know who you are. That's not the point.
No problem.
But, no, I mean, that's just it. That's the big positive I see. It's not, and I hear what Jim's saying, but I think those subdivisions now, until they say they're not, are being adequately serviced by Aqua. And if they're not, I think Aqua needs to come to the town and not those anyway. But really, I like this full loop in the system, just for the simple example that I kind of shared with you. If there was an outage, right there at Prince Edward in front of Jimmy's house, that All Point South would not be out of water with this new proposal, Happy Hill to Warner to Haw River. So I mean, I really, I haven't, I mean, full disclosure, I haven't had an opportunity to, I think I've mentioned it briefly to Jimmy and Jim, but I haven't even mentioned this to Jim or Mike, with being out of town last week and all that good stuff. So here it is, right here in the open, fellas. But it's a big decision, and to be able to vet out the options is part of making a big
I
decision.
would definitely like to see, once they run this water line, on Happy Hill Road that they're running.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stuff up in the air right there, right now. But I'd like to see it extended on for the folks that might have signed up for water. If we're getting these big pots of money to go down somewhere like that. I mean, I don't have anything against doing that. The developers have run most of the line, a lot of lines in Stokesdale. I don't want to say most of them, but that's what we were doing when we started getting all this free money. And I have a feeling they may be running this one a little bit further or something, or want to. And I can tell you this, I had a phone call the other night from a citizen. It had a lot of other citizens there, and they were talking about this. And of course, some of them want a water line, but there's a lot of contention going on over there right now about this Forsyth County deal. I'm actually surprised that we hadn't had them show up here yet. And I've told them, all welcome, come up here and stand up there and talk. We'd love to hear whatever they had to say, but I just didn't have any information to share because we haven't had anything come before us. But
Well,
we got
we did vote in June of '21 for the town to supply water to that lakeside subdivision.
to that point where you got to blue line.
Excuse me, Mr. Foy.
Yes, sir.
I have asked the town clerk, Ms. Martin, and the deputy clerk, Mr. Wagner, to go find that vote and show it to me.
It's in your email.
Well, if it's in my email, it was sent to me today.
It was sent to you today.
Guys, I don't.
Well, you
I don't usually have time to go home
No,
and read email before these meetings, so.
I read it. It's there. It's there. I hadn't seen it either. I wanted to
Did
see
you
it.
find it? Did you see it?
I have not. No,
You haven't confirmed it's in the records?
I have not.
We
Okay,
confirmed it right here. I mean, it's right here.
I'm just puzzled why.
I knew it was done. I just didn't know when it was done.
Well,
And it was also some things asked that didn't get done.
for whoever might have the information, it was June of 2021. What did you,
Correct.
was it a
It
regular meeting or a special call meeting?
was a regular meeting. It's the one, was the same meeting that we had, we approved a storage unit there south of Food Line. And then we also, I believe, rezoned a property to RS30 over there across from Randy's house, Braswell's house, up Oak Level.
Reference item 13 in new business on page 73 and 74 in the document of the June 2021 minutes linked below. Link motion to allow RS Parker Homes to tie into the town water system. Rigsby second the motion. Passed 5-0. For we're concerned about capacity and would feel more comfortable with something in files, securing more water from Forsyth. Tom Mellon said he'd reach out to Forsyth County and put together requests to increase our daily capacity.
So,
Okay, Mr. Foy, sorry for the interruption. I did try to educate myself about the actions of the previous council, and it just couldn't be found.
no, I understand. You shared that with me, yesterday, and I was sitting at work and dug that up, but, as far as the Lakeside subdivision goes, Robbie, have you heard, is there any rezoning that's have you heard about coming down the pipeline?
I know that there's nothing for next month.
Request, I should say, rezoning request.
Nothing, let's see, there was something that's coming on there, but it's not in the near future. I know that December, they didn't receive anything, so we're not gonna have a planning board meeting in December. Seems like we did take a payment for something, with Happy Hill, but I cannot remember what that was. I saw it just for a minute,
Okay.
one thing. I can picture it.
I guess what I'm getting at on that point is that this may get this wouldn't circle, don't get me wrong, this wouldn't circle at the time. But, you know, we may end up, depending on how council goes or whatever happens, another large section of that done by developers without spending any money.
I've somewhat accounted for that or tried to in the drawing. See, in the drawing, I'm pink going down Happy Hill, but then I turned to blue.
Yeah, oh, no, I
Yeah.
know. I know
So-
what you know.
I think it's reasonable to believe that the developer's gonna cover all of Stokesdale coming down Happy Hill from 158.
I have reason to believe that they are gonna come to council. Somebody's gonna come to council for more, wanting to do more. If we do it, we're just gonna pay for it for them. But it's not come here, so I mean, I really can't use that. And I don't have any names or anything like that, but, you might look at the Winston-Salem meetings and you might see some of that.
I've seen it.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Hadn't historically Winston reached out to us to, have us, you know, provide that water as we do on the cold water side? And wouldn't we kind of expect that to come from Winston to service those customers?
Which ones you talking about?
The ones on the, this new development, Lake.
Well, we've already voted to
Already
do that.
voted for that.
We voted to do that, so that blue line.
Yeah,
he's
not the
got-
cold water, this new one that I keep getting an email about, I'm not sure. it's
But
got
we're
it.
not obligated to go any further than what we said. I mean, there's a cutoff, right there, I forget what the name of the, parcel is, but that's where that's what the motion was.
I'm
I
not
mean,
sure.
we're not obligated to run a water line for them.
No.
You know, down
Put-
further.
Please don't mistake anything I'm talking about the town running the water line for that developer.
No, I know, but
Please.
I'm saying that the end that you have in orange, there's stuff going on now.
Yes,
That,
yes, to the,
where they may come back in here and ask for that. Now, I'm gonna tell you, the folks in Guilford County don't want us to do it. That's down there. Well, I shouldn't say all of them, but there was a group of folks. Man, I could hear it rattling.
mhm.
And, I hope they'll show up here with some papers and see what's going on. I don't know.
Sure, sure.
But I'd like to know. And I hate to even bring it up in a meeting because, there's no facts. There's no facts to put out.
Yeah.
But I'm not sitting here saying I'm against anything or for anything. I'm just saying, I'm just throwing the other stuff on the wall.
I'd imagine we'll hear something pretty soon. there's documents floating out, floating around.
Yeah. Chief Golden? Yes, sir. I'm glad you're here tonight, 'cause I want to ask you a question.
That doesn't sound good.
Yeah, and I'm gonna put you on the spot, and you can jump off of it if you want to.
Sure.
What do you think we ought to do? You've been here in this town about as long as I have. You know, and I know that you talking about coming down Hall River Road at one time, and I think y'all liked that idea.
Yes.
And I'm glad you showed up, because I've been hoping you would. I should have just called you and said, come on down. But, you know, what do you think about all this in these ways? And I mean, put it out on the line with us. Tell us what you think.
So I have to be honest with you. Derek came to see me about a month or so ago, and he said, I'm just curious, pretty much the same thing that you said, is what would your thoughts be on this line? And my initial response to him was, if you do anything other than come down Hall River Road, you've wasted the money. And that was just my original thought, as far as having, and I call it a secondary water source, not from a different county, even though it's from the same one, it's off of a different trunk, and that was the mindset I had. And, so he asked me to hear him out, and he was talking about the cold water part, and, what he felt like the positives were there, and what some of the negatives, what the drawbacks were to coming down Hall River Road, having to come through a town in the county, and all the things that you had to do there. Possibly the amount of time that it would take to do it, because you know, crossing properties and utility easements, all the things that would have to go into that. Of course, it would have to be the same either way you run it. So I took him, you know, what he said, and I gave it some thought. And, you know, after giving it some thought, I fell back to my old saying. I say a lot of times, a little bit of something's better than a whole lot of nothing. And if we've got the money to spend it and improve it, and that's what we can do, then I could have a 1 and a 1A, and 1A just happen to be the better choice right now for several reasons. So I think that whatever you do, obviously you're gonna help the system. You know, Derek told me that down the line somewhere, that there may be some opportunities for maybe even Stokesdale and Oak Ridge to do some stuff together to come out of Forsyth County with some water. It may or it may not happen, but I think right now that, you know, if you're doing anything and you're improving our system, it may not be what I want to see, may not be what other folks want to see, but as Derek pointed out, there's a whole lot of other things that figure into that you have to take into account for, and really some of them I didn't. I still feel like that one would be to come, you know, down Hall River Road.
Right.
But if that's not feasible right now, we certainly don't want to let this free money go and not improve our system. So I think we take the best deal we got on the table.
Right, okay, well, thank you. Thank you so much. Mr. Babson, I see a smile there. What do you think?
I'll give this to you for a while.
This would be the first night I've ever met Mr. Godden.
Oh, is it?
It is. I mean, our recommendation was Hall River Road. The water quality modeling, the distribution system modeling. I mean, that's where all that came about. It is from a different section of the Winston-Salem system. It is a true secondary source into the end of the town. Having said that, I, again, listened to the concerns of council. It's not something we were asked at the time we did that study to find the secondary source that would be best for the town from water quality and distribution system capacity. And when we felt like we did that, and that's what we provided you, really without considering the additional jurisdiction that is coming from and the political and jurisdictional issues that brings into play. I still stand by a Hall River source being the better option hydraulically for the distribution system in Stokesdale.
Sure.
At that point, I stopped looking at Hall River Road altogether, right? And so, again, a little is better than nothing, and the Coldwater Creek would do a little bit of that. This option is not as good as Haw River Road, but without doing the modeling, and I think we need to, a short modeling exercise to understand whether this has the impacts I think it may, is a good secondary to that.
Do you think it's better than the cold water?
I do, from only a distribution system.
Right.
Pressure, flow, and quality. Now, the quality piece, the other two I feel under just basic engineering judgment, it's gonna check that box. The quality piece, I would like to do some modeling to understand whether it does make as much of an improvement as I hope it may. From a secondary source standpoint, it still has the concerns of the individual feed from Winston-Salem, Walkertown area, all the way down Reedsville Road. But it does give you the secondary portion of the Stokesdale piece of that single water line. And I think that's something.
Would you
That-
think
that
if we had a break in our line in Winston-Salem, you think they'd be on it pretty quick?
Of course, yeah.
With
Yeah,
what they
I think
have?
so. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that's their responsibility. They
Yeah.
sell you water and you would have that expectation, and I think they would meet that need. It would still be an outage. I mean, there's no
Yeah.
way,
Oh, yeah.
I mean, there's no way to prevent that. But sure, yeah. I mean, I think any utility would have the responsibility to get out there and fix it in a timely manner.
Right.
Certainly when they're selling water to another utility.
And they're equipped to
Sure.
take care of things fast.
Yeah,
Right.
absolutely. But I think this is a pretty good option. I really do. And I do think it would be, I'm not looking at who it serves. I'm not looking at how many homes. I'm not looking at how many customers you gain or who lives where. This is just strictly from a flow and pressure hydraulic improvement to the system. I think this is a really good option.
And quite frankly, from my perspective too, is more from the water system perspective here, because I think I could make an argument that cold water to 65 to Oak Level would, obviously there's more linear miles inside the full Stokesdale jurisdiction. Both sides of the property are in the Stokesdale jurisdiction. You know, there's not many customers out there now, but, you know, in the future. So, you know, I see, from my perspective, I see the benefits of a water system perspective with Warner Road and Happy Hill. And I see the benefits, maybe cold water in 65 might benefit Stokesdale more, the citizens or future citizens. It's a tough choice, and, you know, that's why I wanted 4 other people to mull it over instead of just me.
If you're talking about just customers, the Coldwater Road, more future customers, unless you take the, you know, I mean, if we picked up Arbor Run and all those developments in there as an individual, you know, you're not gonna pick it up. If you possibly could pick all that up, you would, you definitely would have, you'd need some water. Definitely need some more water from Winston-Salem probably. But, if you're, you know, it just depends on what you're looking to do. And I'll tell you something about I know a lot about that area where you're coming through. You better have something to blow some rock up, because that is sitting on rock back there. That's where your Pyramid Quarry, I mean, you know, the back of our place we used to own was solid rock after a few feet. So it's, when you start thinking about, you know, going that way, you're gonna have some, just a little bit down, you're gonna have some solid rock. And you run into that, you say, I don't know if Todd knows anything about that or not, but it's rock back there, a lot. So I don't know what kind of cost, you know, extra, if you run into that or not. That's a rough terrain back there, so.
It's definitely.
Which had to be
additional cost
something
in that.
just to, for the engineers to do, it ain't for me, I just what little bit of common sense I might have, I see hills going up and down and rocks sticking out, and I figure it's gonna cost a little money, so.
Is there anything we need to ask Aaron to do concerning this other route?
Well, yes, but Aaron, I know we've chatted about it, but I'm gonna put you on the spot. What needs to happen to really assess the capacity, 158? Down 158 from Walkertown? How much does Forsyth County need using today? How much do they project using in 20 years? How much is left over for us is the big question. You know, we're contractually good at 300,000 gallons a day. We're gonna need more. Your report says we're gonna need more.
Yeah, so the question of how much water can go through a 12-inch pipe from Winston is different than how much they can actually send you, which is based on their distribution system assets. So we're talking about their pumping capacity, their storage capacity, their use and our demands on that line. So all of those things would come into play when determining how much water could be sent to Stokesdale through the 158 connection. So what it would take would be to contact the Winston-Salem, Forsyth County Utilities, tell them you were interested in a potential expansion, whatever that may be, to 450 to 600, and ask if that's available. They will go to their modeler that they have on staff, or that they have under contract, rather, and they will ask them that question, and they'll be able to provide an answer. We have worked with Winston-Salem. We can certainly help you with those questions, and that coordination with them wouldn't be an issue at all. But that it's really a question that they're going to have to answer, not one that we can answer from the Stokesdale side.
Okay.
I don't want to simplify this too much, but is it as simple as calling them and saying, how much more water can you give us?
As long as that call is followed up by an email and a paper
so-
trail.
Yeah, I understand, I understand that, but
They're going to ask you on what time frame. So they're going to say now or 20 years down the road. They're going to look at what their build out of their system may be and what their plans are for that line. What they've assumed the farmland down 158 may turn into that they would have to serve in the future coming from Walkertown. So, you know, there's a lot of factors in that, and it's going to be based on what they see as the potential use for or demand at build out in the future. So if you said 5 years, right, that gives them a time frame. They can go look at it. They know that not every farm is going to be developed in that period of time. But they'll, you know, if you say 30 years, right, that's a little bit of a different exercise. So I would suggest, and potentially what might give you a better answer is if you go to them and say, what's the likelihood that we can get another 300,000 gallons, and what would need to happen to get that? You know, whether that would be improvements on their side or, and I chose 300,000 gallons. That number may be different when you call it, but
Right.
that question, they would probably be able to answer a little bit easier with a target.
The system we have in place now will handle the 300,000 gallons that we've got there, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we wouldn't have to do anything for that 300,000. I mean, we do things to make it better.
Right, and I assume that contract also has a peaking factor on it, so that you could pull more than 300,000 gallons in a single day if you were, I mean, you'd have to go back and look at the contract, but I'm not sure if that's a total flow or that's your average flow, the way the contract is written. I'm not sure that I've ever seen that with Winston.
So that's kind of what we need to get that number. We need to get that capacity increased, that number. So Aaron's saying that comes best by us approaching Winston-Salem.
Okay.
We need to know that before we, you know.
Yeah,
do much anything.
Is Courtney our best contact for this? Do we need to go
she is.
higher up? How about,
She's the highest.
We also
Yeah.
need to,
When
you
you
know,
talk to-
I mean, our contract runs out with them 2030, is that right?
I'm not
Tom, do
sure.
you know?
We-
I see
we've
you on
had-
the phone, Tom.
We've had,
What's the question?
How long that contract is good for with Winston-Salem?
I do know that we had a proposal goes on, I think, for perpetuity, with either party being able to cancel upon 4 years' notice.
Yeah, 4 years,
Um,
I remember as well.
And let's see, this past month, a week or two ago, I reached out to Courtney Driver, who's the utilities director for Winston-Salem, Forsyth County Utilities, to ask about that amendment. It did not get executed on their end or our end, so she wants to gear that back up and get that signed. So I'll need to get that back in front of you guys and get it approved.
What,
And I don't, let's see. Here we
Tom,
go.
what was the amendment that will,
It goes until 2030.
2030? Okay.
That is scary to think that we'd have an amendment that in 4 years, somebody cut our water off and we're gonna just keep on laying water line.
Yeah.
And also, I'll just to also let you know that during my conversations with her, I said, while we're looking at getting this amendment, what's the likelihood of increasing our water capacity that y'all had asked about it? And I put out there a question of maybe going from 300,000 to 500,000, but I have not gotten a response to my last query on that. So that's where it stands with them as far as my communications.
Tom, could you loop cancel in on that email or forward it to us?
Yeah, just
That might be a good one for Mike to piggyback off of,
just copy it to us if you would, Tom.
especially from a allocation perspective. Now, from a contract perspective, getting that amendment in there, we'll definitely need, legal help there.
Okay. Yeah, I'll pull that up and shoot it to you right here.
Okay.
Shall we move this forward to our next meeting or further discussion?
Well, let's talk about, Aaron had made a comment that he'd want to look at one of these options or maybe both from a quality perspective.
If that's of interest to council, the only way I'd be able to answer that question is to be able to look at it from a.
Do you feel like we have the hydraulic model? Do you feel like you need to run both of these scenarios and kind of give us some feedback?
Yeah, we'd run both scenarios. I think the Coldwater Creek option is already in the model. It's just a matter of turning it on, opening it up
Okay.
and running that. I think I'm not sure if this scenario is, but I could check. Either way, I don't think it has been looked at from a water quality perspective to compare the two. For sure. We have not done that. It's better from a resiliency standpoint because you're tying into the extremity of the system in a different location. So from the standpoint of a break in front of Councilman Lander's house, right, you're right, you'd be able to feed the entire system with a couple of closed valves, with maybe the exception of your house.
I've got 3 wells, I don't need.
There you go.
But
Said that, so maybe we want to shut them down.
I'm not sure if council is aware, but I am aware. Oak Ridge, any well that is drilled in Oak Ridge from this point forward is to be deeded over to the town.
what? Community well.
Any well, it was, I'm quoting Ann Schneider, the mayor.
Please be careful.
Okay, well, I was in the meeting. It was a county commissioners.
I think any community well.
You may be correct. I heard any well, and Lord knows I have trouble hearing.
You're telling, okay, you're saying that if I lived in Oak Ridge and I drilled a well, I'd have to deed it to Oak Ridge?
I'm as flabbergasted as you are, but that's my understanding.
God bless. I can't believe that. I hope you're wrong.
Oh, well, I'm not real happy about it either if I lived in Oak Ridge.
That's not my understanding, but
Well, what's your understanding? That's getting close to home.
my understanding was that there was something there with community wells. But hey, I'm not, I just have a hard time thinking that's right, but I don't know. I'm not going on record.
I can get clarification on it. But anyway, that was just,
Yeah, I wish you would.
that was just an aside
Which is
from,
not here, but
we're talking about trying to do something together at some point down the road. Is there any further discussion on the water system?
I would never
capital
vote
improvement?
to force somebody to hook on, or force somebody to shut their well, or to force, I mean, that's.
I'll get it clarified. I'll get it clarified and let you know. Any further discussion?
I don't think so.
We're gonna.
But Aaron's talking about wanting to do some of these studies, and I imagine there's gonna be a cost to those. Do we need to have some kind of, I don't know, I mean, we can wait till next week in the regularly scheduled town council meeting, but Aaron, if you can get us a cost to do these hydraulic studies for both of these options, and I understand we may still have a little bit of spending authority because of the grant project you did for us. It wasn't the full $8,000, but it might be the best way to do it might be just to give us a quote for these two, and we vote on that.
Yes, sir. So we're gonna carry this over to the normal meeting next week.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure we'll have some discussion.
Okay. Discussion of town park improvements. T, did we throw this to you or Derek?
I put it on there, again, I called this meeting before Thanksgiving, I just wanted the opportunity to discuss this. The biggest ask I have, I think T did a great job updating the citizens, the council, in last meeting with the PowerPoint presentation. We did get some initial numbers from the general contractor about the amphitheater, and I think I'm gonna request, maybe an $800 spending authority where we can have our designer go back and simplify the amphitheater due to some cost projections.
Is that a motion?
Yeah, well, I'll make a motion that, we have, Lori Hawkins, landscape design, up to $800 for her to, make some revisions to the design that she has submitted to the town of Stokesdale already.
I'll second the motion. Any discussion? Jim?
Aye.
Derek?
Aye.
Jimmy? Tim?
I'm sorry, I must have missed something. I thought we voted and have paid for a design already.
You're correct. We voted and paid for, design, and that cost, I believe, $2,100. Tim, if we're gonna pursue the amphitheater, we're gonna need to simplify that design a little bit.
Okay, there's nothing been presented to council in writing here, correct?
That's correct.
I'm nay, I need to see it.
Okay.
I just $800.
I got you.
I'm aye. Any further discussion on town park improvements?
Yes. In the last meeting, we approved submitting an RFQ for, Robbie, can you pull up the GIS?
Yeah, on here.
Yeah, for the town hall. We approved to be in the RFQ a 27-foot by roughly 100-foot area of land. That 27 feet is gonna be too narrow for additional playground equipment worth a darn. We met with another vendor, Cunningham Recreation, and behind the playground, or adjacent to the playground, I guess towards Angels Glen, there's a lot of real estate over there. And he was suggesting, we easily have 60 foot by 60 foot and could make better use of the money if we did that. So that RFP RFP has not been sent out to potential vendors yet. My only request is, could we change the square footage, the proposed site, from that 27-foot by 100-foot site to about 60 by 60? And Robbie, could you were there with the discussion. Can you kind of point out to council where it was?
Talking about bringing it out right here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I guess, that was one part I wasn't clear on. Was he trying to make it at like a triangle?
60 by 60 would be a square.
Yeah.
Okay,
roughly
sorry.
that.
Well, bringing it
Yeah.
out 60 feet this way.
Mhm.
And, I can't remember, what is the? 68 as it is, okay. Okay, so coming straight.
So just extending it that way as opposed to between the walking path and the current playground.
Gotcha.
Playgrounds have to have fall zones that extend a lot wider out than the actual playground equipment. And at that 27 feet, we were just, it's not that we couldn't do anything, it's that we would be limiting ourselves on the option if we put that out to vendors. I mean, they would come back and say, sure, we'll take your $95,000, this is what we can get you.
Yeah.
But this is gonna give us more options.
Gotcha.
So I would ask for council approval to allow me to change those dimensions in the RFP.
Motion.
Yeah, I moved to do that.
Okay.
Move to change
I'll
those
second
dimensions
that
to
motion.
60 by 60.
Is there any further discussion?
I'd like for somebody to restate the motion.
We're gonna change the dimensions of the new proposed playground from 27 feet by 100 feet to 60 feet by 60 feet.
And move it.
Yeah, the proposed site would now be moved.
I have a question.
How are you going to identify the new site in the minutes when they're written?
I can send I could go in GIS and draw a rectangle.
I'm just saying, in 2 years, when if another council's trying to figure out what's been done,
Yeah, no, I got you. How about this? I'll rephrase my motion. Upon a site plan submitted to staff, that we change the dimensions of the new proposed playground area to 60 by 60 feet.
Am I incorrect in adding that the proposed new site is adjacent to existing playground?
It is, and the old one was too, but yeah.
I do have a question. Has anybody talked to a kid about these playground things? We're letting adults make all of these decisions, I'm guessing, and I'm sure they're all expert. Does anybody bother to talk to a kid?
Yes.
I've talked to a couple here and there once in a while.
Yep.
Okay. All right. And, it'd be silly of us, I don't mean to cast aspersions on anybody, but it'd be silly for us to build a nice soccer field down there when a few more feet could have built a football field, which would serve both purposes. But that's my gripe. Without any further discussion, is there more discussion? Jim?
Give it a second.
Aye. Derek? I did, I seconded it.
All right.
Derek? Aye. Your vote?
For my motion?
Yes.
Yes, I do that.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
And I am aye. I move we go into closed session in accordance with NCGS 143-318.11, 3, and 5 for the purpose of consulting the town attorney to preserve attorney-client privilege.
I'll second it, but
Yeah,
first I want to thank Chief Golden and Mr. Babson for coming in, shining a little light for us.
Yeah.
We need it.
And also T and Karen, of course.
Yeah, well, we always appreciate them coming.
And if-
Sometimes you just get overlooked.
And if I could make a friendly amendment to the motion, also to discuss potential acquisition of real property and consider the qualifications, competence, character, fitness conditions of initial employment of a public officer or an employee.
I accept that.
Well, that, okay.
Who gave a second? Did you, Jim?
Yeah, I'm gonna second it, but will that cover a cleaning employee?
I'm afraid not.
Well, I wanna cover that too. If we can't. If we can't now, it's fine. Tom, is it,
If you're talking about an employee, yeah.
well,
Okay.
possible, just
Okay,
possible.
yeah, then that itself will cover it, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, okay.
I have no objection to that. Jim?
Ah,
Eric?
Aye.
Jimmy?
Huh?
Tim?
Aye.
And I am also aye. Folks, we appreciate you being here. If you want to hang around,
Derek, this is Tom. Are you gonna call me on my cell phone, or are we able to take the computer in the?
We'll call you, Tom. Or can you take the computer in there?
we don't have a screen, do we? Thank you,
would-
Aaron. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
we can't do that. Hey, Tom, do you want to text me your landline? Is that easier from where you are?
Call me on my landline.
Okay, text me that number and we will.
Okay, thank you.
You know, somebody should have thought of that, I think.
Jimmy's 40.
yeah, but look, now they're putting Van Hoy. The Van Hoy runs into Foul Pond Road, which goes back over to the lake.
Have you ever gone to Stokesdale?
Okay, gotcha. All right, make sure it's good.
How's your shoulder? Which one?
I wish I could have. UTV accident.
So, we're Carolina fans.
I know.
Carolina, it's been several years ago, my brother was at home, he's tall anyway, Carolina, he told us, he said, yes. Well, we replaced the ceiling fan, we broke the blades, everything on the ceiling fan.
Sounds like Steve.
That's good.
You guys have a good week.
How's your mom doing?
So, y'all.
She's doing good. I talked to her not long before I came up here. She gets out on these nice days and stays for a while, does outside, and she comes back in, so.
Hadn't seen her in a while.
Yeah, no, she's doing great. Well, I mean, I don't know, she's having the eye issue pretty much.
Yeah, where she can't drive now.
Oh, yeah, no, she's not gonna, she's finally getting to the point of accepting that she's not gonna drive anymore.
I forget who it was who was telling me that she wasn't driving anymore. Might have been Ashley.
Yeah, we had that conversation a couple of weeks ago, and we were talking about just getting her an ID. She said, so can I drive? And I said, Mom, can't drive on ID. I said, you're done driving. I said, you know, you pretty much lost the sight in that right eye. I said, so you're done. I said, you're just gonna have to come to that fact and accept it and move on. You know, so I wouldn't want anybody to tell me that, but I want them to be upfront with me and honest.
Definitely.
It will come eventually, I'm sure, for all of us.
I'll tell you one thing, for I don't know how many years, one of the worst chewings I ever took was from my dad over driving. And it wasn't hard. He got mad because I took the lawnmower away from him when he got Alzheimer's and dementia. We were sitting there in the house, he told me, he said, boy, I'm gonna tell you something right now. He said, I've been mowing for 60 years. He said, I know how to ride a lawnmower. He said, you ain't gonna take my lawnmower. And I said, Pops, you can't get on the lawnmower anymore. So, we get the keys. Doggone, he didn't have a second set. In the building.
I remember your mom telling me about that.
Hid out there somewhere, and I said, I'll be darned. But boy, that's probably the maddest he's been to me his whole life.
And I can't
told him,
picture him ever getting mad. He was just always.
he was so docile.
Happy go lucky. I've seen your mama bad, but I
Yeah,
haven't never seen him mad.
she'll get fired up, but he just told me real quick, he said, I have you know, I've been mowing for 60 years, I know how to mow, I know how to ride a lawnmower. I said, I understand. I said, but you gonna ride that one anymore? And I tried to strike a deal up with him, but, you know, you got to mention Alzheimer's hard to do because he's got that flat part of his land. I said, mow it till it runs out of gas, and I'll come here and fill it back up. But do not go to the back of your property where it slopes off. He'd pull out, and the first place he would go was in hills. I said, you know, can't take the chance on him turning that lawnmower over on him.
That's for sure.
So I had to tell one they couldn't ride along.
If you'll bear with me, I don't have this written out. But that would be to terminate Tom Medlin as the town attorney at the earliest possible date prescribed in the contract currently existing between him and the town of Stokesdale and his law firm. From memory, I believe it to be 60 days. And that would be my motion.
Is there a second? Motion does not carry.
Whoop, hold on a second. Nobody's gonna second it. I'm going to, because I made a campaign promise to second any motion to get something on the floor for discussion.
Go for it.
So I have to do it.
Okay, I've got a motion and I've got a second. Discussion?
I don't know if it's necessary to provide my rationale one way or the other. I'm gonna have a motion to hire a different attorney at a different law firm after this vote. But I, as a single council member, am just not satisfied that I have any representation with the town attorney. And this has been a long-standing, continual issue.
Any further discussion? Jim?
I think it would be appropriate before we take a vote to have some reasoning behind this for the town's perspective. Just to make a personnel move over without any discussion, I think would be inappropriate. That's my thoughts.
We have a motion and we have a second. Is there some discussion? Jim, you brought it up. Discuss it.
No, I mean, it's not my motion. I'm just saying, if we're going to make a motion to
Terminate?
the attorney, then I think certainly all the council, the town, and everyone that he represents deserves some reasoning behind that. Unless it's some sort of confidential matter, I think it's an open meeting necessity. I mean, we want to terminate somebody, I think it's at least, I mean, it's the first I've heard of this, that there's been a problem with him. I think it's worth at least some discussion.
Well, Mr. Rigsby, I know you received an email, an alternative proposal previously as soon as it was available. Again, my issue is I don't have, the people that I represent, the people that voted for me, do not have access to a town attorney.
Well, the town attorney does not work for those people. He works for this council.
You're certainly right. And as part of that council, I don't have access to the town attorney, and I've been blocked from access to the town attorney in a previous term by Mr. Medlin. This council has never been served by any other town attorney than Mr. Medlin. I have had the privilege of being able to interact with 3 other town attorneys, and I have a little bit different perspective from some of the other council members here, I believe. For me to go into detail about each prospective legal question I've had in the past, and the 2 that I recently asked of Mr. Medlin that has been over 60 days, and I've received no answer or any acknowledgement that I've even asked the questions. I think that would endanger the town's legal position, the attorney-client privilege, for us to go back and forth here in public about legal questions that have been asked in the past, what the response has been and what it hasn't been. I'm not going there. Mr. Rigsby, if you choose to do so, I can't stop you.
Well, I don't choose to get into that particular business but my question to you would be, how do you not have access to the attorney when you asked him those two questions? And, you can call him at any time. You're not restricted. He's on retainer for so many hours a month. And to my knowledge, in the last, year or two, we've not exceeded that, to my knowledge. I don't think anybody on this council has told you not to call the attorney. In fact, we voted to provide access, I think, at some point to all of us that could call the attorney. I think that was, reversed from your previous stance. So I guess I'm questioning how you don't have access to the attorney. Now, if his service is different, if
I
he's
could
not
ask him,
provided you an answer,
I
then
could
call
ask
back
him
and ask
anything I
him.
want to, he just won't answer.
Well, and then that's between you and him. I'm just saying, you're saying you don't have access to the attorney, which surprises me because
Yeah.
I thought we all had fixed that.
Well, Mr. Rigsby, it's, you get to express your opinion and I get to express mine. I've made the motion, I believe, for valid reasons. I think, there was at least one meeting that you were not, that you were unable to attend that, has some bearing on this, but, the other council members are well aware of my questions. And, I just think it would be, inappropriate to have a discussion about the specific questions in this venue in a public meeting.
That's all I have, Mr. Mayor.
Again, I have a motion and I have a second. Jim?
No.
Derek?
I'm also no.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
I am aye. The motion carries.
Okay, I have an additional motion to make, Mr. Mayor. That would be pending a formal contract satisfactory to both parties that the town of Stokesdale contract with Chuck Winfrey, an attorney in Greensboro, for legal services. Council's in possession of a what I'll call an email quote, and unfortunately, I didn't have an opportunity to get it printed and have it in front of me in order to reference the date and the rates outlined in that email. It may be possible for when you all to pull this up and we can reference at least the date of the email.
Last Wednesday. I know that for a fact.
But Mr. Crawford and I have met with Mr. Winfrey, and he has agreed to serve as the Stokesdale Town Attorney if this council so desires.
I'll second the motion. Is there any discussion?
Well, I don't particularly like the way that we're doing this, but I would like to see this handled in a different fashion than it is. But we gotta move on, so.
I might add, Mr. Winfrey is available for an interview, for conversation by telephone or in person. Got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Jim?
I'm just gonna go on record to say I think it, for us to have reached out to an attorney prior to discussing the status of our current attorney is unprofessional, improper, and just, I'm a no. I'm gonna go ahead and start the vote, I'm a no.
Derek?
Y'all have talked to him, and what did you think?
I was very impressed for what little bit of knowledge I have, and I guess I've dealt with attorneys, but most of the time it's been on the prosecution side.
All right. Okay, aye.
Jimmy?
Aye. Nothing else to do.
Tim?
Aye.
And I am also aye. Any comments? Any council comments?
Are we gonna go in the usual order?
Yeah. Then we've got the closed session, the citizens' comments I asked for before we went into closed session.
Okay, forgive me, Mayor, I thought we were speaking about,
No problem.
council
then
comments and.
Council comments? Do we have any council comments?
No.
Do I hear a motion to adjourn?
No, I've got something. I want to thank Tom for, the work he did do for the town. That's really all I have. I'm kind of at a shock right now, or a little bit.
Do I have a motion
This
to?
is Tom. So, gentlemen, if just to kind of follow up with your decision tonight, if Mayor, I guess if you will just communicate with me whenever you get Chuck, Mr. Winfrey, to take over, then I'll terminate that representation at that time. Don't want to leave you without an attorney until you get something signed or an agreement in place with him.
I'll do it, Tom.
If it goes into effect December 1, that's fine. Whenever, you just let me know.
I'll let you know, Tom. I will for sure. And we appreciate your help.
Welcome.
Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Crawford, if I may.
Yes, sir.
I too would like to thank Mr. Medlin, but the issue with me is I always think about the citizens that I served, that voted for me, the ones that tend to don't get much of a voice in the town's business, the ones that are just trying to make it from one day to the next, 1 week to the next, 1 month to the next. And, I can tolerate, being ignored, myself personally. But I think about them when these matters come up that, I have a legal question, can't get it answered. Other council members, I tend to at least ask one before I ask a question, to bounce it off them, get an opinion, and that sort of thing. There's all of us are in a fluid motion here. We're all either coming or going here in these council seats, as the previous councils did and as the previous town attorneys did. And I take no joy in conducting some of the town's business quite a bit of the time. Having to make hard decisions is not something I particularly enjoy, but to do otherwise would, I feel, be a disservice to the citizens that voted for me. That's all.
Any further discussion? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second. Jim?
Aye.
Derek?
Aye.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Tim?
Aye.
And I'm also aye. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Tom.
And thank you, Tom.
8.
Hey, that guy doesn't come back to work till Friday, so it'll probably be then before.
Thank you, Derek.
All right.
I'm gonna reach out to him.
Okay, all right, sounds good.
I don't know what bothered Derek.
Excuse me?
I don't know what would bother Derek.
Are we still recording?